He was the greatest Western hero on TV for 20 years. However, one woman perceived James Arness differently. She saw him be late to set, joke as others worked, and act recklessly. She humiliated him in front of the cast in 1958, ending their romance. Everyone anticipated violence from the 6'7" celebrity. His response altered everything. The underlying reason for her anger was unexpected. What occurred next surprised Hollywood. James Arness was born in a humble Minneapolis neighborhood on May 26, 1923. Spinal meningitis nearly killed him at 18 months. Doctors said his prospects were fewer than 40%, but James's father, Rolf, who sold medical equipment, leveraged his hospital contacts to procure him an experimental treatment. Though it saved his life, it left him limping. No one would have predicted that this boy would become Marshall Dillon. 3112 Humboldt Avenue was the Arness home. The residents had Norwegian and German customs. Mother Ruth taught him classic hymns and prayers in both languages. James was 5 feet 8 inches at 10. His grandpa, a 6 foot 9 inch Norwegian Royal Guard veteran, gave him his height. James was uncertain. His mother mentioned in her diary that James is very bashful. I can't image him working with others. School was hard for James. Even his 1942 yearbook labeled him least likely to succeed in communication. One instructor reported submitting the same Treasure Island book report 3 years in a row. He stayed silent for a semester in primary school after being embarrassed in class. He failed all subjects except exercise and painting, where he sketched cowboys and horses. In 1 month, he missed 31 days to explore the river valley with Rex, his dog. The tests showed his IQ was 127. Smart, not interested. Psychologists later called James's abilities unusual. No matter how uncomfortable, he could mentally flee. Years later, that habit would help him during protracted TV production. He was close to his younger brother Peter, who would become Peter Graves. After their father lost his business and started drinking in 1933, 10-year-old James and 7-year-old Peter forged a blood covenant to protect each other. James shattered his wrist when he stood up to their aggressive father at 13. Pete never forgot that moment. He stated, "Jimmy became my father that night." In school, the brothers were opposites. Peter excelled, James struggled, but they were inseparable. Built forts in the woods and learned Ojibwe hunting from local kids, and explored lakes all weekend. One neighbor called them the quiet giant and his talkative shadow. James didn't consider acting. Indeed, he loathed it. He deliberately forgot his lines in a school play to avoid speaking. He wanted to sail. He read 2 years before the mast 7 times by 16 after being inspired by his grandfather's stories. He converted his room into a sailor's quarters and checked the barometer every morning at 6:15. He hitchhiked 160 miles to Duluth at 16 and tried to board a ship with bogus papers. His deckhand career lasted 3 days before being apprehended. "Every lake here feels like a jail," he wrote in his journal, "in need of ocean." His yearbook, quote, "Never stay in one position or role for more than a year." He played one character for 20 years. At 6 feet 7 inches, James was too tall to fly by 1943. Only 6 feet 2 inches were allowed by the Navy. His heart broke. He always worried his poor eyesight would disqualify him. Never expected his height to be a problem. First a burden, his height became his greatest strength in Hollywood. He attempted college for a semester, but a draft occurred. He entered the Army at 19 and trained in Georgia. He said he was slim and mean and could accomplish a 20-mile trip easily. He was deployed to North Africa, then Italy. He joined the 3rd Infantry Division, one of the war's hardest. On January 22, 1944, James went on a boat to Anzio. "Your sergeant gave you 2 TNT bundles and told you to go first. If you disappear underwater, we'll know it's too deep." James entered the waters from the ramp. Water reached his waist. He arrived with explosives, but the silence was short-lived. Within days, Anzio became one of the bloodiest battles. 10 days later, James led a nighttime patrol between enemy lines. He silently advanced 40 feet ahead of his unit. He suddenly heard German voices. Then a machine gun fired. He was shot in the right leg. As gunfire erupted, he hid behind grapevines. A grenade exploded nearby. Thrown into the dirt, he was practically comatose. When his squad found him, his companion was dead. A medic applied sulfur powder to his wounds and administered morphine into his stomach. A $1 million wound was reported. Doctors found his leg gravely infected, sending him return to the U.S. They nearly amputated. James left the hospital in January 1945 after many procedures. His awards were the Bronze Star, Purple Heart, and campaign medals. Peter, his brother, suggested he attempt radio due to his deep voice. James didn't laugh. He liked the idea. WLOL in Minneapolis received his audition tape after discharge. Using Army equipment, the station manager recruited him without seeing him. Reading the Morning Farm Report earned him $40 a week. There was one issue. James knew nothing about farming. He mispronounced agriculture 17 times in one broadcast. 3 months later, he was released. That was enough. That first mic experience inspired something. James sat at a Minneapolis tavern with his childhood friend Andy Anderson in September 1946. Despite having only $27.83, they planned to travel 1,900 miles to Hollywood and become performers. Their journey took 19 days, 14 rides, and 1 cattle wagon where James, limping from his injury, slept on hay. They ate largely canned beans and cheese sandwiches. After arriving in Los Angeles, they chose a cheap Sunset Boulevard motel. $8 per week. No one wanted them. At least one casting director said James was too big and unattractive. They unexpectedly entered a film set as electricians. James wasn't expelled. His 6'7" height got him a stand-in gig for John Wayne, paid $35. He never appeared on camera, but it was his first Hollywood check and break. James recognized he required substantial training by January 1947. He struggled at Bliss Hayden Theater School on his GI Bill. In one Our Town scenario, he forgot 23 of 27 lines. Not everyone in the crowd winced. Talent agent Leon Lance stated, "You're bad, but you're real." Lance agreed to represent him on one condition. James trained 6 days a week before auditions. Lance paid for 42 hours of coaching extra. One activity had James carry buckets of water while reciting Shakespeare. It works. Over 3 months later, MGM scheduled a screen test. The name change followed. James had a brief role in The Farmer's Daughter in April 1947. His first check was payable to James Arness. The teller at the bank interpreted it as Orweez and refused to cash it. Bankrupt James. His pocket held $1.28. He argued with the bank, and a woman heard him. The casting director was Dorothy Harper. She ordered him to drop the U at the Roosevelt Hotel that night, scrawled it on his union form with a front desk pen. Hotel manager saw it. Thus, James Arness became James Arness. Only 4 sentences in The Farmer's Daughter. He repeatedly messed them up. Director nearly fired him, but film actress Loretta Young saved him. The film debuted. James assumed it was over. But then a letter arrived at his $14 a week boarding place. It came from 72-year-old Kansas woman Emma Tilson. "You remind me of my late husband," she wrote. His character was good. "I think you are." He was given $5 to buy a good lunch. He kept the letter in his wallet for 42 years. James later added, "I pretended to act before that letter. After that, I became one." 4 years later, in 1951, James wore a thick costume and makeup and didn't speak. He was the thing from another world's alien. He didn't despise the part, despite claims. Set the record straight in 2005. A fantastic break for me. My movie gained recognition and helped me acquire more jobs. He didn't mind being unseen. It mattered that others noticed him. 6 feet 7 inches helped and harmed him. Growing up, he was bullied for his height. His height kept him out of the Navy Air program in the Army. In the muck of Anzio, officers used him to measure water depth. If James could wade through it, others could too. In Hollywood, he was usually a villain or background character. Big roles were rare. After The Thing, doors opened. One door led to John Wayne. The Duke hired Arness after seeing him in a play. From 1952 to 1955, Arness appeared in 4 Wayne films: Big Jim McLean, Hondo, Island in the Sky, and The Sea Chase. Wayne recorded an opener for a new TV show and pushed producers to star Arness as the lead. The show was Gunsmoke. It would become a legendary TV show. Wayne's mentorship transformed everything. Before Gunsmoke, Arness was establishing his Western reputation. He played Deputy Sheriff Bud Titus in The Lone Ranger in 1950. That role introduced TV viewers to Arness's lawman demeanor. Arness focused on adult drama. Unlike many early Westerns for youngsters, this is why Gunsmoke suits him. It was no ordinary shooter. It was deep. James Arness wasn't famous immediately. War wounds, rejection, cheap hotel rooms, and more failure than most would endure. But he made every low point helpful. Hospital voices become radio gigs. Cattle truck rides become stand-in jobs. An unsuccessful scene resulted to an acting contract. A $5 fan letter became a lifelong mission. James Arness wasn't famous in the 1950s. At 6 feet 7 inches, he was tall and struggling to fit in Hollywood. Gunsmoke followed. The role of Marshal Matt Dillon would define his life, but Arness was unsure. He even attempted to back out. Rumor has it that John Wayne was offered the role originally. That's false. Wayne was famous in movies. TV didn't interest him. Arness asked Wayne for assistance when he hesitated to do a TV show. Arness expected Wayne to help him escape the bargain, but Wayne did the opposite. He advised Arness to persevere, then continued. Wayne introduced the Gunsmoke pilot on September 10, 1955, with a personal video. He termed the play honest and adult and predicted Arness's success. That clip provided Gunsmoke quick attention and Arness the drive to stay. Arness was uncertain behind the scenes. He had cold feet before filming. After signing a contract and fittings, he was ready to leave. CBS programming executive William Dozier intervened. Arness was summoned personally and told, "I don't know you, but you're about to do something very unprofessional." That line hit hard. Arness realized his reputation was at risk. A house meeting with Dozier was agreed upon. He decided after a long talk. He'd keep the promise. This choice created a television legend. Gunsmoke looked different from other Westerns on TV. No kids were intended. It was slow, rough, and gray. The violence wasn't cartoonish. Not all characters were perfect. Dodge City felt genuine in 1873. Arness, tall and calm, was a new TV hero. Viewers noticed. Ratings rose quickly for the show. After one season, Arness ascended from background actor to national star. Gunfire increased. The longest dramatic series at the time, it aired 635 episodes over 20 seasons. Arness reprised Matt Dillon throughout the 1980s and 1990s. As the show grew, reviewers noticed, Arness received 3 Emmy nominations in 1957, 1958, and 1959. He lost, but it didn't matter. He switched from playing monsters in movies like The Thing from Another World to running one of the most renowned TV series. He was one of TV's most popular actors. He played Dylan with hardness, fairness, and quiet suffering, setting a standard for TV lawmen. But the set wasn't always tranquil. Milburn Stone, who played Doc Adams, hated Arness early on. From 1955 until 1958, considered Arness sluggish, careless, and unfit for the job. He despised when Arness was late or joked while others worked. Stone went insane. He subsequently admitted, "I thought he didn't belong in business." Next came the breaking point. In 1958, Stone burst. Again, Arness was late. Stone gave it to him in front of the cast and crew. "I've read my contract," he shouted, "and it doesn't need me to diaper or wait for you. If you arrive late again, you'll have to explain where you were and where I went." Room went quiet. Everyone froze. The show could have ended then. Arness wasn't mad, not yelling back. He stared Stone in the eyes and said, "Milburn, you're right. Just one sentence altered everything." Was shocked. Arness took the hit and confessed blame. From then on, they got along. Stone later called Arness a magnificent, large, lovely, cuddly bear and one of his closest buddies. Few understood Arness's struggles. In 1944, at 20, he was gravely wounded in the Battle of Anzio. Machine gun bullets hit his leg. Because of his height, he was the first soldier off the landing craft to verify water depth. He was hit waist deep. The injury never entirely healed after over a year in the hospital, living in pain for life. Filming Gunsmoke physically hurt him. Riding horses and walking on tough terrain hurt his leg, yet he never complained. His limp wasn't acting. It existed. Viewers thought it boosted his toughness. They were unaware of its battle origin. Arness received a Purple Heart, Bronze Star, and other awards for his service. He stated the medals meant more to him than Hollywood awards. Over time, Arness became known for her generosity on set. He wasn't a show-off like other stars. He advised authors to provide weighty stories to other actors. He only did 4 or 5 large episodes annually. "Usually, I don't push it," he remarked. That decision prolonged the show. It let others shine. Guest star Earl Holliman recalled it. From the outset, Jim would bike off and not return until the end. Bang! He'd defeat the villain. Virginia Chapman was his 1948 bride. Little Craig, her 1946 son from a previous marriage, was hers. James adopted him. Jenny Lee and Rolf were their next children, born in 1950 and 1952. Virginia attempted acting as James flourished in Hollywood. In 2 Gunsmoke episodes, she played a gypsy. Their son Craig became a successful National Geographic photographer. In 1970, Rolf won the Surfing World Championship, making him famous. This pleasant family photo didn't last. In 1958, the marriage frayed.